I would like to clarify my intention from doing workshops like this, because I have a main mission in life of prevention and like trying to save things before they happen. And that's one of the reasons actually why I transferred from psychiatry to psychology. My main study was in psychiatry, and I decided to shift to psychology for this exact same reason. So I have a big belief in prevention and like what we can do to prevent mental illness as much as possible. And today my talk to you is more from my clinical experience and what I see on a daily basis at my clinic. And I have been seeing this increase for years and years and causing different and various problems. So whether you are professionals or your parents yourself, or you're in contact with parents, or you do have a role in raising awareness around you. And this is my main target for today, like raising the awareness to what we can do concerning the children's relationship to screen time. So when you look at this picture on my first screen, it's showing how children are focused on their devices. And we actually, as adults, are doing the same thing. So we're always looking at a device most of the day. And this is what children see. And then they got their own devices. So they did the exact same thing. And now we're turning into like humans who are always looking at the device and living beside each other, but not looking at each other. We're living like alongside each other instead of face to face. So we need to make a conscious effort ourselves, and we'll talk about this further later on. So starting with the very young age, and this is really very scary to me when I see it anywhere in any mall or any place, restaurant, I see a baby in front of a device, I'm really scared. And I try to compile my courage and go to the parents and tell them not to do this. But honestly, I don't always do it, but I try as much as possible. I feel like maybe someone won't understand what I'm saying, or will feel embarrassed, or will feel, but I try to save the baby. Babies need humans. Babies need, when the parents are sitting in a restaurant with their baby, they need to be talking, looking at them, singing at them, okay? Not giving them a device. So, and the general instruction, even from all the international organizations, the American Psychological Association, the British Association, everyone is saying no exposure below 2 years. So this is a general rule. There is a general consensus. Babies shouldn't be exposed to any kind of screen before the age of 2. And this is causing a lot of, for example, speech delay, problems with eye contact, anger problems that start too early, like a very huge tantrums. So this crucial period of time in our children's life shouldn't be risked. And I sometimes tell the parents, like, this is like choosing to give your child poison for the brain. So it's that serious. Like, I know there are studies that are saying like, okay, they can benefit this and it teaches them that, or educational programs. My personal opinion is do not risk that. Some children are more vulnerable than others, but the effect we see in the clinics on a daily basis is huge. And it's very scary. Like every time I get a child with delays, we're still investigating, we're still assessing. I ask this question, and 99% of the people would say, yes, I've used the mobile to make him eat. I'm using it to make him not cry anywhere we go. And it's very early exposure, like at the age of 4 months, some parents start. So this is very scary and very dangerous. Please try to raise awareness towards it and rescue as much children as we can. We're seeing it also in the adolescence and middle childhood phase, where the teenager is totally stuck on their device and they're not showing interest in any other thing or family activity or stuff. Some studies showed that middle childhood use of devices or overuse, let's say overexposure, caused stunted frontal lobe and lag in social skills, difficulty in empathy, and like because when you're used to being in front of a device, device most of the time, you miss on the facial expressions, the social cues. So you have a lag there. It's like you're not trained to identify people's emotions. And I believe that emotional intelligence is even more important than the IQ when it comes to success in life and success in general, whether it's academic success or success in your job, success in your relationships. It all depends on emotional intelligence. So it's very important that they get enough interaction with faces and people. So let's review some of the other effects of digital overexposure. So for example, the sensory overload with too many stimuli, like visual, auditory, too many stimuli are coming through the device. It releases stress hormones like cortisol. So the person, even us as adults, we're more stressed when we use more devices. So when the child is using them also, it's like, why are you so stressed? Why are you getting angry so quickly? This is why. So another red flag. It also causes a surge in dopamine, which is addictive. So children want more, and it never ends, like it keeps going up. And when you notice like all the attention problems at the schools, I'm not saying this is the only reason. Of course, there are a lot of reasons, but it makes sense. If I'm used to a device with all the sensory stimuli and all the music and the colors and the changing of the images so frequently, how will I give attention to a boring person speaking in front of me in the class? It's not possible. So they find it more and more difficult to listen to the teacher in the class. So they're another very important reason. Now, an experiment on mice showed when they were exposed for 6 hours of audiovisual stimuli resembling the video games, it showed increased hyperactivity and impaired learning only after 10 days. So only 10 days of exposing the mice to this kind of stimuli, it caused the problem. So what does this tell us? It tells us that, like, okay, we're doing this for years and months, and then we're expecting no effect. Of course, there's big benefit from using technology, and it's part of learning about like the next generation, and they have to use it. But what can we do? So it's a parent's battle against screen time, like we said, and it's a universal battle. It's not just in one country, it's everywhere. Parents all over the world from all countries are going through the same thing. I think we should join efforts, start planning and doing an intentional effort for it. Not just that the parents struggle at home and you can't use your device today, and not just that way, but we have to have a conjoined planned effort and intentional effort so that we can succeed, because whatever we're doing, it's not succeeding. It's getting children more attached to the devices actually. So even our way of addressing it needs to be changed. Of course, green time, and I know the struggle of parents, like everyone is so busy, but please advise parents that they should put it in their schedule. In a country with a lot of desert, like here, we can use the desert, we can use the beaches. I know it gets super hot, but try to do your best to provide some green time or some nature time for your child, because without nature, even with adults, when adults come to us with depression, it's a very important part of our wellness to connect with nature. So going into nature, even if it's hot, is very important. And it's part of our humanity. Like when we're just with devices, when we're just locked in the rooms, it doesn't work for us. It's not how we're built. We need to contact nature. We need to touch nature. We need to smell nature. So it's a natural mood enhancer for us. And if we deprive our children from it, they will certainly struggle. So, and the other thing is that when I see children at the beaches or in any place with nature, again, it really breaks my heart when I see them on their device and not playing and interacting with nature. So a very important thing that needs to change, and maybe even like beaches can like say no devices on the beach, then it's not your problem as a parent. So what I'm saying is that there needs to be a bigger change concerning children and devices, not just like parents restricting devices. So children would not be allowed to take devices to nature places like beaches or gardens or any kind of play areas. So it's like a general instruction and a general rule that would help the parents as well. So if you look at children's play nowadays, and I'm a big advocate of play. I do play therapy. I teach children how to play. I teach teachers how to play with children. I teach parents how to play with children. And I notice a very big lag and a very big difference across the time. Some children now don't even know the basic games. Like if they're without the device, they don't know what to do. They don't even turn to their classmate or colleague or friend to talk. They don't know what to do. They're clueless. So they start talking about games, online games or devices and stuff. And again, this shows a big problem. Again, it showed that increased screen time leads to increased anger. And we can notice it even with ourselves. When we're more on the screens and more on devices, we get more angry easily. It causes a low mood, it causes sadness, and it affects the quality of the sleep. And it is well known that use of devices before sleep is not advised at all for everyone, not just children, because it does affect the quality of the sleep and the dream time. So again, all of the anger things, I've put this from the DSM-5 from one of the journals, just as a guideline, and to alert everyone that it is now diagnosable clinically, the gaming disorder. So, and we see it happening to adults as well. So these are like if the person has 5 or more of these criteria, then they're diagnosed with internet gaming disorder. And so now it's an official disorder that is diagnosed clinically and needs professional treatment. It's not trivial. It's not something we should say, oh, it's just loving to play. No, it's not loving to play. It's a real kind of addiction. So examples are, and I'm going to repeat them again for reconfirmation, like if the person is preoccupied or the child is preoccupied with online or offline gaming, like they're always thinking about it, thinking what to do next, thinking what level they are, the conversations are all about the games, this is a sign. Experiencing unpleasant symptoms when gaming is taken away, like they feel like you've taken away something very important and they feel very bad. The need to spend increasing time engaged in games, so the tolerance keeps changing and they feel they need to play more and more to be satisfied. Unsuccessful attempts to control participation in games, like if they say, I'm not going to play, I'm going to study today, they fail and they play instead of studying, and this happens to older children. Loss of interest in previous hobbies. They don't want to do anything. They just want to play the game. So they start losing friendships, not interested in friendship. What they used to like doing before, they tell you they don't want to do it. They tell you they don't want to go to their sports activities. They don't want to even meet their friends. They don't want to go to anything except playing games. This is another big red flag. And then continued excessive use of games despite the knowledge of the psychosocial problems. So they know you've educated them about it and they still use it excessively. And we see this even with adults. Deceiving family members, like lying about things and doing things behind the family members that advise them. I see this even again with adults, and it affects the whole life. So I've seen people in almost their 30s and they're struggling with this and they're losing their jobs and they're losing their relationships and still they can't drop it. So I professionally think there needs to be more and more clinical specializations in this kind of addiction, because the addiction units or specialists, maybe they need to add this more or advertise it more, because it's a big problem and it's not getting treated properly. And I think it should have a special unit specialized for this kind of addiction, not to combine it with the drug addiction unit, to make it easier for people to go. So again, jeopardizing relationships, friendship, romantic relationships are jeopardized everything. So it's a big diagnosable addiction. To just the review things related to children, just as quick red flags when you see them or when the parents see them, they should start going to someone professional. So if the child is preoccupied with the games all of the time, like when you sit eating your dinner together, for example, and he starts talking only about the game all of the time, and in the car they're talking about the game and which level they are in. So if they're totally preoccupied with this, it's a sign. and the inability to control themselves. They're unable to put it down, no matter what number of times you say, until you go and take it from them. And then they get really angry. Another sign. When they get bored or lose interest in any other activity. And a big red flag when they used to love going to a friend's house and suddenly they don't want to go to this friend's house and they just want to play. I'll play with him online. And again, a very big red flag. Refuses to, like we said, meet with friends, wants to sit home alone. When the family goes out, no, leave me at home alone, I don't want to come. And of course, withdrawal symptoms like anger tantrum when the gadget is taken away. Another thing I see a lot at the clinic is when teachers complain that the student is sleeping at school. This is a big, big red flag. When the child is sleeping at school, you have to check if they're sleeping properly at night. Maybe parents would think like, okay, he's sleeping, he went to bed, and then they would wake up or not even sleep at night and use their device behind your back. So lying about it, using it behind your back, not being very sleepy in the morning is a big sign. You have to go and see in the middle of the night if they're up or they're sleeping. Just to make sure they are getting enough sleep. Increase in tolerance, like we said, he keeps wanting to play more and more and more. First 1 hour was enough, and then 2 hours are not enough, and then 6 hours are not enough. And a very big mistakes parents fall into every single summer is that they make it free all summer. So they cause definite impact on attention. They cause a definite like getting used to playing all the time. And then when they go back to school, they hate going back to school because the freedom is taken away. The gadgets are used less, and they go through this every single summer. So every summer the attention is affected more and the addiction increases. So my opinion is not to do this during the summer. You can increase the device time a little bit than the school time, but definitely don't leave it for free use ever. And this should be a family rule, even for parents. Like parents would also show it to children how they're monitoring their own screen time. And a big, big red flag is when the child is not happy unless they are on their screens or on their devices. So we need to monitor this. Don't say they just want their device. If they're starting to feel unhappy, then again, we have to seek clinical advice. Another thing I have to mention here, since we're speaking about devices, and is social media. Social media now, children are using it at a younger and younger age, which is very scary. And it's your responsibility as parents and your responsibility as professionals to warn parents that they have to be on top of this. They have to apply the right age of using social media, and they have to put all the parent protection program for child protection, for safeguarding. Don't allow applications that are dangerous to children. So for example, Snapchat has made a parent, and they got a reward for it, a parent program where the parent can be connected to the child's Snapchat, and this is very important. If you can't be connected, if you can't monitor, then do not let it in your child's life. I'm seeing at the clinic all kinds of problems because of this, from safety issues to exposure to unsafe material to causing the child anxiety, causing the child depression. Children are using devices very freely and very skillfully, and we all know that this generation is more skillful at devices than their parents. So parents have to make, again, an intentional effort to educate themselves about everything that's new. Any new application that comes out, you have to go and find out what it is, how we should use it, how can we protect our children. There is, for example, a big warning against an application called Discord because it's totally unsafe for children and it's totally unprotected. So we have to make a conscious effort as adults and parents to monitor this. And here I want to tell you, as parents and as professionals, to warn parents, do not be embarrassed that you're monitoring your child's device, even as a teenager. It's your duty as a parent to monitor the device for their protection, because we go into this dilemma of, okay, their privacy, but privacy against safety, that doesn't work. So, like, for example, in incidences of online child abuse or online child use in any way, the first thing the police do is accuse the parents of neglect. If the parents are not monitoring the child's devices till the age of 18, this is actually considered a form of child abuse, which is neglect. So when your child, and we do it in a good way, do not do it ever in a non-amicable way. You do it in the best way possible. It is my role as a parent to protect you. I cannot review your social media. It's my duty. I have to. Until you're the age of 18, when you can protect yourself, then you can have your full privacy. So we do it with respect. We do it in an amicable way, not in a conflicting way, because this is the most common mistake. Like, we take the device in an angry way. We just force things in a bad way, and then the child or the adolescent just is attached more and wants to have it more. Now, there are different opinions about how many hours for each age, and this is one suggestion that I think is good enough. You're welcome to take a screenshot and maybe follow it, or follow the closest you are to it. The only thing here is violent video games. I don't think they are healthy personally for anyone. But if it's an adult and they want to do it, they think it's not affecting them, it's their choice. They're an adult. But definitely, I don't like exposure to violent video games for any age. So this is like a suggested thing. Below 2 years, never, 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 never. From 3 to 5, 1 hour a day. 6 to 12, 2 hours a day, and divided, okay? And you can decrease this during school time. So school days, 1 hour a day. After the homework, during vacations, 2 hours a day, divided, not consequently. And then from 13 to 18, it's the same, but the content can change a little bit. And I would delay violent video games, or not advise with it ever. So this is my personal view. Appropriate age, again, it's a family decision, but I know all professionals would really delay use of devices and delay getting a mobile or a cellular with the internet, a smartphone. I would delay it now. My children are grown up adults, but if my children were younger now, I would delay it to the age at least of 15 before giving them a device with social media. And again, I would monitor it till the age of 18. Now, tips to what to do. What shall we do as professionals and parents? Other than detoxing, also I'll speak in general. So taking a family week and long trip without the devices, and they see also parents are using their devices only for 1 hour a day, and they're identifying it with their children. I have work, but I'm taking you for this trip. I have to work a couple of hours a day. But then when they finish their work, they are totally in with their children. They're not on their devices. So it's important for children to see that and for us to model it for them. So it's not just that we're depriving you, it's a general thing. So an electronic-free weekend or day or even hour is very important. So modeling it to our children. I would advise in the living room, if you have to work, go somewhere else and tell your child, I need to work. And so they would understand that you're working, you're not just playing with your device. It's important to highlight this. Otherwise, the child will think you're playing just like them or whatever. The same with their device. If they're doing their homework, they need to sit on their desk or somewhere where it shows that they're working on their device. And then a separate time is the time for playing on the device. And that would be a limited time that they're used to and they know they need to commit to. of course, you will find resistance, but you need to go back, show them the studies, show them videos about it, show them that this is for their brains, for their benefit. They need to hear it from other people. They need to hear it at their school from their teachers. There needs to be like more and more professionals going to school, speaking to children about this in different ways, doing experiments with them to prove that it's not healthy to sit for a long time. So it needs to be incorporated into the whole system and not just to be left to parents. And again, parents need to be technologically informed, because I see some parents who are not up to date with technology, and I know it's a struggle because the newer generation are much more skilled at this than we are. But we have to make an effort at it. We have to learn what's going on. We have to learn to use all the applications, and we have to learn how to make passwords and parental controls. And unfortunately, it is happening. We're seeing some issues because of this, because of the lack of parental control. We're seeing adults that are contacting children online, and parents don't know about it, discovered by coincidence, discovered when there's a bigger incidence, and it's used even for changing how the child is thinking about themselves. So it's very, very dangerous. So making friends, it's not okay for an adult to make friends with a child online without the parents' permission. So we have to be more alert. We have to educate children about this. We have to do the safeguarding at the schools. Children need to be aware of this and understand what to do when this happens, because they think it's okay. It's just a nice person who's playing with me online. It is never okay for an adult to contact your child online without your permission. In the house, you have to have this tech-free zone, so no devices on the dinner table, and you have to commit to it yourself. Again, if you have work, you don't bring it to the dinner table. So general rules for all the family will make the children feel, okay, it's fair. It's fair. They're not just being mean to me. It's a general house rule. It takes a lot of effort from parents. A lot of parents are addicted themselves. So again, it's a conscious effort. It's the decision. I'm going to unplug. I'm going to be a good model for my child. And we do the efforts, and it rescues you. A lot of adults who come to the clinic with depression or anxiety are struggling with these kinds of addictions. And it does directly or indirectly affect your mood and affect your psychological state. We are human beings, and we're supposed to do things that are, related to nature and related to social contact. And that's why a lot of people struggled during COVID, because they didn't get enough of their socialization. So we have to take care of ourselves as well. Now, the schools, I have an opinion about what's going on in the schools. And I think, again, there needs to be some kind of revolution for the way we are teaching children. It's been the same for more than 100 years. We're using lecturing where it's built on industrial age values, where everyone has to sit quietly for a long period of time, listen to the teacher, minimal autonomy. It's not really child-centered. We are starting to say child-centered, but we're not doing it. Child-centered means to discover what each and every child is interested in. So we're not doing that. We're not actually doing that. So this needs to change. And more children are coming with attention problems to the clinic because they're not interested. They cannot sit for a full hour listening to a teacher talking about something. The age has changed. The whole world has changed. We have to change the way we are teaching children. We have to make it more interesting. We can use devices, of course, in teaching, but we have to make it interesting and not just in the old traditional way. Otherwise, they will lose the connection. You can't imagine how many children I got, and they're more adolescents, that say, I already know this information and I lose total interest in school, and I don't think school adds to me in any way. And they're very clever people, and they do know the information. So they're running ahead of us, and they need someone to keep up to this, and they need us to provide education that they will actually be interested from. Now, I've heard a lot of professionals say education is going to totally change within the next 50 years, and I hope this happens. And a school is not going to be that long. It's going to be shorter, which would be great. We'll see. But we have to do part of it. We have to attend to it because it's causing problems at school as well, and behavioral problems and all of this stuff. Lack of interest does cause that. So to finalize and to leave time for some of your questions, you need, as professionals, to guide parents on how to do this. Again, I want to emphasize parents should not do it in a conflicting way. Teachers should not do it in a conflicting way. We should do it with modeling, and we should do it in an educational way. So to educate children, we need to, and it's in all the movies actually. So we need to also use like drama therapy and narrative therapy and say, okay, you know, this movie, when technology caused a big problem in the world, and we have to preserve our humanity and we have to work for it. I know playing games is interesting and nice, and being on your device is nice, but it causes this kind of impact, and we have to, you know, I'm also having sometimes difficulty leaving my device, but I do a conscious effort to monitor my screen time, and I work towards this, and let's do it together. So this is how it should be. And of course, you should put limited screen time for your child, but again, do it in a good way and in an amicable way, not with conflict and not frowning at them and not snatching their device and saying, you're not allowed this for a week, for example, or for a month. You can do this, but in the right way. So you can say, unfortunately, because you have overused your device today, tomorrow you will have less access to your device. And I'm reminding you that it's for your health, it's for your brain. So when you do it this way, it gets more acceptance. They will still be frustrated a little bit, but they will get used to it. At least they won't think you're just being mean, because this is what the children say. They're just being mean. They're taking my device there, because we give a mean impression on our faces. So this is what needs to be changed as well. Of course, if you notice any of the red flags we talked about, please refer them to therapy. And again, I would really strongly hope that there are more and more professionals who are specialized in internet addiction or social media addiction, because it's very much needed for both adults and children. Thank you, and I'm ready for any questions now.